So in today's video, we're going to talk about some big hitting cryptocurrency altcoins that are developing very, very heavily in this bear market. We're also going to cover about XRP and its potential lawsuit interest with the SEC. That could be very, very interesting if this does actually happen. Ensure that you are subscribed to the channel. I am going to be doing a altcoin fundamental breakdown, including the news as well as technical analysis every single Monday. So make sure you click that bell button so you're notified every single time. I will put timestamps below so you can skip to your favorite bit. Ensure that you stay to the end of the video so you get the full debrief of what I'm saying, as well as in the comment section, ask what you'd like me to cover for next week. I may have missed stuff and I want to cover a lot of things in this series. If you'd like more videos, make sure you check out my Patreon link below. I do 4 extra videos per week as well as a live stream. I have a very, very positive, vibrant community. It's a really good Discord that you should jump into. So without further ado, let's go onto the screen. If you've not yet done so, hit that like button. Let's get more reach. It is free to do so and it massively helps me. So here we are on the screen and you can see very, very quickly and very, very clearly, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of earnings, obviously. However, there's also Eurozone sales, there's US trade on Tuesday, as well as Jerome Powell speaking on Tuesday, as well as Joe Biden. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of sound bites this week potentially for the market, as well as more Federal Reserve personnel. John Williams also talking on a New York event. There's a lot happening. Make sure you understand it. But also on Friday, PPI, CPI, all that kind of good stuff from China is happening. That could be also very, very interesting, as well as further talks on Friday from the Federal Reserve kind of crew, which is mad. But let's talk about earnings as well. There is some earnings too. Not a massive amount realistically over the course of what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, but there is still some big hitters here, the likes of PayPal, Walt Disney, PepsiCo, even the likes of Uber, BP, some big companies here that could affect the market. So make sure you understand that the markets are affected by where wealth goes, whether it goes into gold or silver or whatever, or also remains in cash. So make sure you understand that. So let's go to the obvious. London has emerged as the world's most crypto-ready city for business. Now, I've got a few disputes about this and I'm going to explain why in a second. But apparently it's to ensure that the UK services in the industry is a forefront of technology and innovation. Now, I'm going to say something really, really, really obvious. I'm from England. Funny that. But I've never used cryptocurrency outside of the online world. I've never got to an ATM with crypto. I've never done a POS transaction from my wallet to a shop, for example. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm yet to see it. I'm not saying that it hasn't happened yet or it will happen, all kinds of stuff, but I am a little bit scared about that. But you can see here, the quality control, the crypto-based event is obviously really high in London. You know, people working in crypto-based jobs in the UK is also very, very high. Stuff like that is a massive, massive factor. But for me, it isn't enough. It isn't enough to get that. Also, the capital gains aren't too bad, but that could get a lot worse, and it will get worse with the new tax laws coming into effect in the next 2 to 3 years. And there's only 4 ATMs of crypto. That's probably why I've never used one, but you get the idea. But as I said, it's a bit of an odd one because guess what? 3 days ago, one of the top banks in the UK, Nationwide, a bank that I actually use and have used for 25 years, are now reducing their payments to Binance, which is very, very, very interesting. Now, I've just recently tweeted about what I use for taking profits and where I use for my profit taking element, i.e. off-ramp into my bank. Never had any issues, but one thing that I will say with this tweet, they've said only going out to Binance, not coming in. So any off-ramp will be absolutely fine. However, when it kind of goes into contrary and context of the fact of, oh, the UK and London is a good hub for crypto, and one of the leading nationwide banking societies, which is Nationwide, is not so crypto friendly, right? Along with other banks. A lot of banks are like this in the UK, not just one. So just bear that in mind. So Cardano Whales. Before I get into the juicy bit about the developers, the whales have been accumulating Cardano pretty damn heavily, but also very quietly. Sentiment have released this information, this image here. Let me just zoom in on this. Have said that a lot of monies has been going into Cardano. A lot of development activity has also happened, which I will come on to in a second, so don't bugger off. there's a lot of big coins doing a lot of private, silent building without the hype at the moment. Now, Cardano has seen a massive amount of growth since November the 8th, right? 100,000 plus, whale transactions in the last 12 weeks, which is quite a lot, realistically. There's a lot of money getting thrown around. The same with the BTC inflow too. It's starting to see more and more money coming into the crypto market, so bear that in mind. However, another thing that may well be a big catalyst in terms of this market's growth could be due to this. XRP, US attorney, has explained that XRP remained a digital code. We've seen recently the likes of the SEC cases and stuff like that with other, coins have not been around in terms of this terminology. The digital code is going to be very, very different versus Ripple Labs, the parent company of this, which is sold as an investment contract, right? Which could be a security. However, XRP, as the terminology and the utility token and that intermission of buying, selling, moving money around, is going to be digital code. That would mean it's absolutely fine. Same as what Polkadot have been coming out with recently, that it is a software and it is digital coded software, which is not a security, which is hugely important for where this could be going in the future. So when we start looking at the obvious in terms of what this article is saying, we may well find that Ripple Labs could be in trouble, but the actual the SEC relevance of the XRP token might be absolutely fine. So we need to look at this with a bit more of an open mind, seeing where this could go for the industry. I think a lot of people, whether you are turned on by XRP or not, are going to be looking at what actually happens in this case, because I think it's an important kind of stepping stone for the SEC. Personally, I don't like the fact that they're putting their fingers in it, but it's just the way it is. So let's get to the nitty gritty of developments. Now, top blockchain by development. Polkadot, top, Ethereum, Cosmos, Near, Avalanche, Algorand, Tron, and BNB chain are the main ones. And you can see how popular Polkadot is. You all know that I really like Polkadot. It's just one of those things, right? When we talk about Polkadot, I talk about power chains and other things, but the fact that it's topping Ethereum and Cosmos is really, really important right now. Now, even more so, right, if this is sourced by Sentiment, don't worry about it's a Polkadot image, and it is, don't get me wrong, I like the branding, it looks quite nice. However, we've got to look at the fact of what else is happening on other Twitter accounts. So in terms of the weekly growth, every single week for the last few weeks, we have seen Polkadot being top of this in the GitHub activity, as well as Cardano. Cardano and Polkadot have been absolutely destroying every single developer in GitHub kind of processes, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it, right? Ethereum is huge, obviously. Even the likes of Cosmos, Near Protocol, etc., massive. However, what we're seeing is a lot of leading lines of Polkadot and Kusama Network, as well as Cardano, which is massively important. So when you look at this in terms of an element of what to pick for an investment, I always have believed in network effect. Network effect is essentially why coins do very, very well. But this is also the same narrative of it. Developers, like follow the developers, follow the money, right? It's the same sort of thing. If they're developing hard and they're building and growing and always utilizing the chain and making it better, it's going to become a better asset over time. It's going to get bigger and better, right? Stronger. It's like all these companies that built from nothing into something big, they've had a lot of hard graft and putting the work into it. It's a massive important factor. I am going to be doing a video next week potentially on coins you should be buying and coins you shouldn't be buying, in terms of why it's important to look at this sort of narrative versus some of the coins that have just hype, no utility, no developers, and it's just literally marketing hype. So it's a good thing to look out for. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video. So the first thing to look at is obviously Bitcoin here. Now, if you want to understand what this is, check out my Patreon. I do a full disclosure of how this kind of works. It's a little cool indicator in terms of dominance. It's pretty awesome. But we're seeing already that how the market has upticked massively into a couple of weeks of growth, but we are now at levels of resistance. If I zoom out enough, we may well be sat in this range again. We've been in this range a while in the past. We fell out of it. We fell into another range just lower than it. And then obviously we went lower, but we've been in this kind of range and pocket for a while. When we think about it from like June to roughly August time, we were in it for quite a bit, and even almost towards September time, all the way into it. So we may well be finding ourselves back into this boring range, and that may not be fun for some people. A lot of people do get bored of these ranges, which could be very, very interesting to see where we do actually go. Because for me, when I look at that, people want volatility, and sometimes it's not the lows of the market that get you. Sometimes the boredom of it, thinking, oh, I'm going to sell my bags now. Oh, it's not the other one's pumping. I want to go for that one, whatever it may be. And then it gets very, very interesting. So let's talk about Polkadot. Polkadot for me, as you know, I do like it a lot. It's one of my top rated investments in terms of what it's done in the past as well. The development cycle is massive. There's a lot of parachain stuff going on at the minute. A new parachain was won not too long ago via Alpha Zero, which is a pretty awesome project as well. Now, when we look at this, if they've got all their parachains actually live for this new cycle that could be coming up in the next few years, this could be absolutely huge in terms of growth, because you've got to combine all those. They didn't have that last cycle, which is a hugely important thing, right? So when we look at that, it could be absolutely massive in terms of where it could actually go. So we've got to look at that as a factor. And in my opinion, when we look at all those parachains, the likes of Moonbeam, that's big enough as itself. Even the likes of A-Star, Alpha Zero, the big layer one blockchains that could be very, very good. I think it could be very, very interesting to see where we do actually go with this parachain kind of ecosystem. For me, overall, I do like the look of it. But overall, when we look at the TA of it, we were at $55 all-time high pretty much. We're now only here. This will probably pull back, and we'll look at, I would say, around this $6 level, $6.20 level, where we've had previous levels of interest before. We could be meeting again. We could be looking at this kind of whole region here of absolute interest, where we could find a lot of orders getting plonked right in that area, which could be very, very interesting if we do get the liquidity and the demand for it. Even though the bottom may not be in, or it may be, and I don't know. Now, for me, I'm always on the fence that the bottom is now in. I don't think we're going to get new lows, but we may well find it go boring, and we may well find it just flicker around for a while. I think accumulation will start pretty much very, very soon. I think a lot of people will be accumulating bags if you've not done so already down here, which, you should have been, realistically, right? Other things to look at in terms of what's been happening over the course of development cycles, obviously Cardano as well. At levels of obvious resistance here, right? This is freaking absolutely obvious resistance, right? However, again, accumulation of the lows. If this does fly off to the moon and does another all-time high reach, which is definitely possible in a new cycle, especially as the crypto market grows, all these renowned, obvious projects that are sitting in front of you that have been around for years and years and years are just going to get bigger and better and stronger. And they will always go in value as the sentiment grows and the confidence and the consumer money grows into the crypto ecosystem. And yeah, people get more confident in putting their money in. Why not? Why wouldn't that be a bad thing? Which is obvious, right? And the final thing to talk about is obviously XRP. What could be happening with XRP? Now, it doesn't look like the greatest of charts here. We could probably argue that we've got a level here of interest, right? Cool. But we've also got a potential level here. So we could be back in this range here where we've been in a few times up and down. It's not been the greatest of kind of situations in terms of technical analysis, but there's a lot of uncertainty with XRP. If the lawsuit is sorted and it looks pretty good, it will probably be a catalyst for the market to grow, because a lot of people are looking at this thinking, well, if the SEC can do damage to XRP, they can literally touch anything. And you got to think how big XRP is in terms of money and all kinds of stuff, and obviously Ripple Labs, etc., etc., etc. It's a huge ecosystem, right? So we've got to be somewhat careful. But in terms of the TA on this, there's not a lot happening, realistically, right? But as I say, a walking catalyst could be the SEC breakout. And finally, the total market cap of the entire industry, right? Again, similar sort of situation. Are we at levels of resistance? Are we going to break out further? Potentially, who knows? But I do think a pullback is probably going to happen at some point, and then we may well see where we can go. I've got a feeling that money is going to start coming in. A lot of people getting hyped and talking about the fact of recessions, but you got to think of the obvious as well. Look at gold. Gold has been correcting quite severely over the last few days. And if gold does continue to correct or finds its level and goes up, we have been following gold pretty much to a T. What if companies and people are looking at cryptocurrency like gold and using it as a risk asset to offset any damage on a recession? That is a little possibility that could happen, so bear that in mind. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you do leave a like if you did like my stuff. And yeah, like always, hit the subscribe button and the bell button for more videos every single Monday. I will do another video on a Thursday as well, which will be a bit more interesting about psychological stuff and altcoin breakdown of dedicated altcoins. So make sure you check them out.